Well, hello. We are live on Tweed Talk. You may see a new familiar face. For those of you who don't know, this is my daughter Amanda.
Hi.
My wife is feeling a little bit under the weather, but we are going to have a show anyway. The show must go on. You know what's funny is that today I wasn't sure if we were going to do the show because Facebook went wild and went crazy. And we are live. So Amanda, how are you feeling today?
I feel good.
You feel good?
Yes.
You know, my daughter also wrote a book, which is appropriate because the person that we're bringing on had actually written more than 15 books. You know, I only wrote two. So, and the way that I met him, he was at at a convention with my friend Dr. Bob, which you happen to know who Dr. Bob is.
Yeah.
I got to tell you something. There's a couple of photos that we have together, and I always miss, I'm always a day late on International Daughters Day. So, and I noticed that when I was about to put a photo of you and me, we both like the same photo and you used that. I said, oh no, she used that photo, which is this photo. And people went crazy about this photo. Look at this photo. This is one of the photos that people were saying that you look just like me. I don't see it because you're beautiful. So tell me, um, I just finished doing a radio show with the Hispanic Heritage. And I didn't plan this exactly this way. But Jose Luis Hinojosa, right? When I met him, I didn't know that he was Hispanic. So this is appropriate that we ended up becoming friends because I only met him once in Las Vegas, and we had a conversation, and then through Facebook we communicated through Facebook. But it was interesting that when I met him, I had this liking to him, and I didn't know why because he looked to me as you would say a white person. That's what I thought. He just but he's Hispanic. I actually got the message when he told me his name was Jose
Yeah.
Luis
Mm-hmm.
Hinojosa.
Pretty Spanish sounding name.
Tell me, Amanda, how did since I just came off that show and that show could have been really you know it made me think a lot about a lot of things. But you growing up being mixed, Latina and Italian. How was you? Did you ever have experienced anything where people were picking on you because of who you were, or were you even aware of it?
I wasn't really aware for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a school, I went to a private school, as you know, and there was really you weren't allowed to bully or anything. And I think that we all unified over our religion rather than, focus on our differences.
Did you ever notice color or anything like that? Because, I never mentioned that when you were growing up because I think a person is a person.
Yeah, I really didn't realize it until I was older because I didn't know that there was a difference until I was older and somebody said, "Oh, you're mulatto, like you're mixed." And I was like, "What does that mean?" Like I don't even know.
You didn't know what?
Yeah, I didn't even know what that really meant. Right. Same thing with you being Hispanic. Like I didn't know.
Well, there's a lot of things I'm finding out about myself when I talk to my mom. Like for instance, I didn't know that my father was Haitian,
right,
from Haitian descent, and I just found that out. My mom just told me. And there's a lot of things that my mom is telling me now that I'm saying like, what, even with my father. But I think that I didn't try to shelter you from that, and that's when you were very little, I used to try to teach you martial art.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you have self-confidence, no matter what came against you, you'll be able to defend yourself. So that's why I never told you that, but that's one of the reasons why I tried to teach you martial art from early. And Dr. Hinojosa, He's also a martial artist. He's a grandmaster actually.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning to notice, and I'm going to bring him in, and so we could talk about his upcoming project. Did I give you his bio?
Yeah, I put it somewhere around here.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay, so welcome to Tweed Talk. Those of you who are, this is my daughter Amanda. My wife, a little bit under the weather. I'm going to have to work on her after this, and it's good that we're bringing a doctor in. We're going to ask you for advice. So, with no further ado, Dr. Hinojosa.
Hey, Pedro, Amanda,
Hey.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh man, I just finished, and I thought that I was going to be late because I just finished doing a radio interview with Hispanic Heritage, and I was on the panel, and I said I didn't even plan to bring you in because of Hispanic Heritage. I planned to bring you in because of all your books.
Yes, well, hey, you got two birds with one stone, right? So,
Yes. So it worked out just pretty well.
Yes.
This is my daughter Amanda. You didn't get to meet her.
Hey, Amanda.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Likewise. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I don't have a real good image here, but I need to get some better equipment for next time. And but thank you for having me. And I'm excited to share with everybody my new project. It's actually a book that I've written, and it is going to be published tomorrow. So it's book number 17, Pedro. So
17.
Number 17. Yes, when I started writing, I never imagined I was going to have written so many books. But actually, this is number 14 in English, and I have 3 that I've written in Spanish, completely 100% in Spanish. And it's kind of exciting because writing a book in Spanish is another challenge. It's like writing a whole new book all over again. 2 of my books that I wrote in Spanish are books that I already have in English that are very well accepted. And so I thought, well, let me translate these into Spanish. And it really was like writing a whole new book because you don't just translate something and have it make sense. It has to have meaning. It has to have the context, that is the right context for the book.
Yeah, and so some of the things don't fully translate, right?
Yes. It's quite challenging, but it's very satisfying. It's very satisfying to do that. And one of the reasons I did that is because a lot of my friends who prefer Spanish would tell me, why don't you write some books in Spanish? English is good, but I feel more comfortable reading in Spanish. So I started writing in Spanish as well. And and it's made a big difference.
Oh, great. I think about it. When I first came to this country, and I had a dream, things would be in Spanish.
Yeah.
So somebody asked me one time, do you dream in Spanish or English? And I couldn't answer because I didn't remember. Then I realized that some of the things, especially reoccurring dreams, were in Spanish.
Yes.
Now everything's in English.
Well, same thing happened with me when I first went to see, because I was born in Mexico many years ago. I'm not going to say when, but many moons ago. And when I was 7 years old, my family moved to the U.S. So I was going to start the 3rd grade in Mexico. When we moved to the U.S., I started all over again in 1st grade. So I felt kind of bad because, in Mexico, I was going to start the 3rd grade. And pretty soon I caught up with the language and then finished high school in Texas, went to college in Rhode Island. Now, in Rhode Island, some of my friends, because it was a very small university, but it's an Ivy League university. It's Brown University. And so they had people from all over the world. And so these people were coming over and they initially didn't think I was Mexican. Some of them would say I look Greek. I looked from another country. And so then they'd say, well, when you dream, what do you dream in? And I would answer Spanish. Everything was in Spanish and in color also. That's yeah, and it's even to this day, I still dream in Spanish and in color, full color. I don't know why.
Now I think I'm bilingual now on my dreams. It depends on who I'm dreaming about. If I'm dreaming with my mom, then she's yelling at me in Spanish.
There you go.
But if I'm dreaming about my wife, then she's yelling at me in English.
Yes.
So the common thread is that they're both yelling at me.
There you go. Hey, so let me tell you a little bit, Pedro, about how I started in music, because I'm putting together a lot of components of my life into this book. The book that comes out tomorrow is called The Four Sax Virtuosos. Actually, four of the protagonists in the book are saxophonists. They play saxophone like I do. But this book is not really just for saxophone instrumentalists. It's actually for musicians and non-musicians. It's for teachers and their students. It's for leaders and those who aspire to be leaders one day. It's really for everybody, because the book has some music in it. It also has some leadership qualities and traits, and it has some interpersonal skills, and it also has a little bit of healthcare, because music, as many people know, is very important in healing. And so there's actually evidence-based scientific research that I used in my book, and I referenced all that in the book to talk about how music can heal people. For instance, one of the stories I talked about, one of the anecdotes, is a couple of years ago, an elderly couple came to my office, and I was following them both in their 80s, mid 80s and late 80s. The husband was fine mentally, but the wife had dementia, and so many times she didn't even recognize her own husband. And that one visit was particularly challenging for her because she was having a hard time. She wasn't recognizing a lot of things. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know who her husband was. And I had just recorded on my cell phone a song that I played on my saxophone. And it's a Frank Sinatra song. It's Fly Me to the Moon. And I just had like a minute and a half clip on my cell phone. And it occurred to me, I thought to myself, wait a minute, let me see if this can happen here. So I asked the husband, I said, is it okay with you if I share something with you and your wife that I recorded on my phone? It'll take a minute or two. And he said, yes, go ahead and share that with us. So I told him I play saxophone, and this is me playing saxophone. Well, when I pushed the play button and the song started, Pedro, you should have seen this patient's eyes. They lit up. She was like, at first she wasn't there. Her vision was gone. But when the music started, her eyes lit up. And she even, she started tapping. She started, bobbing her head with the music. And she started singing the song, Pedro. She knew all the words to the song. And so it was such a touching moment. And when the song finished, the husband says, doctor, my wife used to be a pretty good singer, in her day. And I realized firsthand, I knew music was healing and therapeutic. I just didn't realize how much of an impact it could make on somebody. And in that instant, the patient was back here with us, and she was in the room. And after the song ended, she was all smiles, and it was just a beautiful moment. And so that is one example of how music can actually help somebody with dementia.
Wow. That is amazing. I love that story. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much actually music does help bring you back. I think they did an experiment years ago where they put music of people when they were younger. and they hadn't dressed. I don't know if you have this experiment, but they hadn't dressed the way that they dressed back then when they were younger. And when they play the music and they dress that way, they start to feel more like younger. I believe in the power of music,
Oh
um,
yes, yes.
because when we teach in gymnastics, for example, if we put a certain type of music, the kids just go crazy. And
Oh
we call
yes,
it, no matter what day it is, it could be Monday or Tuesday, we call it It's Friday, because
yes,
we
yes.
discovered that it was a Friday the first time we did it, and everybody was tumbling and everybody was getting new skills. And so we call it Friday, but
Yes.
we noticed that it's the music.
Exactly. And so I talk about the different healing aspects of music in this book. So that's a very big component of the book. I
Hmm.
uh, I remember in 1978, I went to a martial arts camp with Danny Nosanto. He
Hmm.
used to be Bruce Lee's best friend,
Yes.
and so I spent the whole month there in the Aspen Academy of Martial Arts, training with Danny Nosanto and some good friends that I still
Wow.
have to this day. And Dan, every day before practice, would put on a song, turn the
Hmm.
beat around. And so we
Oh.
would jump rope for like 3 minutes to this song. And it
Hmm.
was great. You know, it had a good, percussion section, had a good rhythm. We were all, hold on a second, we were all in time with the music, and it was a great time. And
Hmm.
towards the end of the month, one day Dan decided to not play the music for us. So we just jumped the rope without the music, and it made a big difference. We were huffing and puffing. We didn't have the stamina that we had before. So music psychologically, can give you that extra drive and that oomph,
Hmm.
that you need. Um,
Hmm.
it's no surprise that a lot of professional athletes before a big game, they're listening to music. They're really getting into the rhythm of what they're going to do and get into that moment. So that's all really significant. But I was going to tell you how I started music first, Pedro. So let me
Yeah.
share with you. Now I'm getting on my screen something here that's blocking me. Is it my computer or is it?
Let's
Can you
blacken
still?
you.
Okay.
Nice to
Um,
meet
We
you.
can
Hi.
see and hear you still.
okay. Well, yeah, because I think my computer is about to do one of those automatic updates. So I don't know if it's gonna go off. So
I think
anyway,
it's happening already.
um, so when I was about to start junior high school in South
Hmm.
Texas, I really wanted to play football with all my friends.
Yeah.
And back in those days, in the early 1970s, we didn't have a choice. We either had to do sports or music. We couldn't do both. Nowadays, I know a lot of
Oh.
kids can do all the different activities. As long as they have enough time to do all their homework. But so back then, we had to choose either sports or music. So I have an older brother, a year older, and he was already in band. And so I didn't want to follow his footsteps. I wanted to be my own person. So I wanted to do
Hmm.
football. Well, my parents didn't let me do football. They recognized that it was a very dangerous sport, and they said, "No, no, you're going to be in the band like your brother." And so back then, you wouldn't argue with your parents. You just follow their orders. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And so since he played trumpet, I didn't want that instrument. I wanted something else. I didn't know anything about instruments. So I remember Saturday mornings we used to watch those black and white movies with this one clarinet player that used to look like he was having a great time. It was Benny
Hmm.
Goodman. And I said, "Oh,
Oh.
that's what I want to do. He looks like he's enjoying it." So that's
Hmm.
how I chose the clarinet. Turns out that in the early 1970s, boys were not supposed to play clarinet. I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. So on day one of school, it was 25 girls and me as the clarinet
Oh.
section, and I was shocked, but I didn't mind it except until all the other male classmates started bullying me and
Hmm.
calling me names and things, that were not nice. But I eventually thought of something, and I said, you know what? You're just mad at me because I'm the one surrounded by all these pretty girls, and you're not. And so when I said that, all the bullying stopped. So that's how I started music and band and the clarinet. But then my brother was recruited to a professional band because they found out that he was the best trumpet player in town. And so they wanted a brass section for their band. And they came to the house, and I was 14. So my brother was 15. We're both minors. So the band leaders came to ask my parents if they would allow their son to play in their band. You know, weddings and quinceañeras and gigs that would require you to stay up after midnight. And since he was a minor, they needed their permission. So they said yes, but before they left, they saw me, and people thought we were twins, same height, same build. And so they said, hey, do you play an instrument? You know, and I was real proud and said, you know, clarinet, first chair. They didn't want clarinets back then. So they said, you know, if you can get a hold of a saxophone, we'll give you a chance. So that's how I was inspired to try out the saxophone. I convinced my parents that, you know, I would pay for the saxophone with the money from the gigs. And that's how I got into the saxophone. But then as soon as I played saxophone throughout junior high and high school. Once I graduated from high school and went to Brown University in Rhode Island, I was focused on becoming a doctor. So guess what I did, Pedro? I stopped music because it was going to take up so much time, and I really wanted to be a doctor. And so 1 year becomes 2 years, becomes 42 years without playing music.
Wow.
42 years. And life happens, and I was busy as a doctor, and then one day I stopped and I said, you know, why am I not doing music anymore? There was no real reason anymore. Right. So I picked up the saxophone again after 42 years of not doing it, and it was like riding a bike. I mean, I still need a little bit more work on my embouchure, but I'm enjoying it to the fullest, and I am so grateful that I have that joy once again.
Wow.
You know, I tell people I found my way back home again, because that's home to me, you know, music.
How did you get involved with the martial art?
So in the martial arts, when I went to college, when I went to Brown, I said, I'm focusing on being a doctor. And there was this student who was a year older than me. And the week before school started, there was something called Activities Night at Brown, where all the clubs on campus get together. They show you what they got. They try and recruit new students, new members. And there was a Brown Karate Club that was Taekwondo, but that's what they call themselves, Brown Karate Club. And this friend who was a sophomore wanted to join the club, but he didn't want to sign up by himself. So he says, you know, can you join with me? You know, we'll do this together. And I didn't want to have anything to do with martial arts. I knew nothing of the martial arts. But Carlos, the student, he's from Peru in South America. He really looked like he wanted to do it. I mean, he was begging and begging. And I thought I saw a little tear come down his eye, you know, and I said, yeah, I'll sign up with you. So we signed up. The first day of class comes around the following week, and it's an hour before class. And I called Carlos and said, Carlos, are you ready for class? And he says, no, I have a lot of homework. This is the first day of school. And he's the one that wanted to sign up, and he has a lot of homework. I said, Carlos, I have a lot of homework too. I'm pre-med. Hello. It was Latin American studies, which is, I mean, it was difficult, but Carlos was real good at his classes. And so when we hung up the phone, I said, well, he's not going to go. I might as well not go either. But that didn't sit right with me. And, you know, Amanda, when you commit to something and then you don't even want to show up, it's like, that wasn't me. I said, you know what? So I rationalized. I said, I'm going to show up, then I'm not going to like it, and then I don't have to go again because, you know, but at least I I fulfilled my commitment because I signed on the dotted line. I signed the registration form. So I didn't want to start my college career not showing up to something.
Right.
So I said, I'll show up. I showed up. I loved it. Carlos never, ever showed up. Isn't that amazing?
Wow.
So when people ask me, why did you start martial arts? Some people have for self-defense, to lose weight, to get in shape, for health reasons, etc. My reason was I joined to help out a friend. It turns out my friend helped me. That was pretty neat. Yeah.
It was meant to happen.
Yeah.
It was meant to happen. I got into the martial art because my father was a boxer, and I was very skinny. So you know how kids are. They're going to pick on you because you're skinny. So that's how I got into the martial art. And then everybody respected me after that. And I loved that.
Yes.
They thought I was some kind of genius or something.
It's funny because I've also taught martial arts in college at a South Texas college in McAllen, Texas for a few years. I think I taught about 7 years at the college. And we used as a textbook for the class, one of my books that I wrote, Taekwondo for Everyone. And so, but on the first day of class, usually, these college kids, they're 18, they're 20, they're healthy, they're strong, they're energetic. And they'd see me with all my gray hair and skinny guy. And they'd think, oh, this guy's nothing, and they would even say it amongst themselves. And, I have a pretty good ear, so I could hear. And they didn't think I was very much. And that's actually perfect for martial artists because you don't want people to be having high expectations. You want to catch them by surprise. Martial arts. And so I would always ask on the first day of class, I would always ask the students, if any of you can do 100 push-ups right now with good, proper form, you'll get an A for the semester. And you don't have to worry about this class very much. So imagine that. Everybody was really excited, and they'd go down there and they'd go for the push-ups, and nobody would ever get to 100. Maybe 80 was the maximum. And because I'd catch them off guard, they weren't expecting to do 100 push-ups that day. And so then after everybody had tried and failed, then I would go down and do 100 really nice with good form, and then get up without sweating. And then they would all respect me for the whole semester. It's just, you got to show them, where you're coming from and what skills you have, for them to, earn the respect. And that's how I earned it on day one.
Wow. I like the way you did that, because that's important, because it's different.
Yes.
And because it's different, people pay attention.
Right.
I was teaching a self-defense course at the college, and I came in the first day and I sat down with the student. And I started talking trash about myself because they didn't know who the teacher was. I said, oh, I heard about him. And I started saying all these things. And some of them started agreeing and even saying, yeah, you're right. I heard he's this and this and that. And then I got up and I went, I'm the teacher. And guess what? That was your first test. Because they trusted me, and they trusted the lie that I was saying. And there's sometimes, like, one of the things I used to say is never pick up a hitchhiker, because you don't know who they are. Right. So for those 5 minutes that I was sitting with them, they didn't know who they were, but they trusted me.
Good.
So that was the first lesson.
Yes. If I find that if you use your brain, which God gave us, things tend to work out better. For example, a lot of times, still speaking of the martial arts, we learn the martial arts so we don't have to fight. But a lot of people who don't know martial arts, they don't get that. And I remember in college, I was doing really good in the martial arts. I started learning very quickly, and I was very, very comfortable with my progress. And so out of the blue, I would have people just knocking at my dormitory room door and come and challenge me to fight. There I'm trying to do my homework, and these people are challenging me. And I said, wait a minute, how did you find out about me? Who are you? I don't even know you. Why am I going to fight you? And so I found out that if you outsmart them, you can outsmart them. A fight is also mental. It's mental first, I think. Right. And so this one time, it was a big muscle guy. He was so muscular. His neck was like this. He's the type of person that had to turn his whole body. He couldn't turn his neck only. He had to turn the whole body to look the other way. So I saw that he was full of muscles. And I said, I'll fight you. Sure, I'll fight you. And he started jumping up and down, like in a fighting position. I said, wait. I'll fight you if you can beat me at push-ups. And I only weighed like 145 pounds at that time. He must have been 250. So, which means I only have to lift 145 pounds. Right. He has to lift a lot more weight. And so he was so obedient, Pedro. He went down and started doing his push-ups. I said, wait. Not like that. I said, do him on your knuckles. And he looked kind of odd and said, okay, on my knuckles, good. So he went on his knuckles. He had never done him on his knuckles. In the martial arts, we always do him on our knuckles. And the floor was cement. And so he struggled, and he did 20 push-ups. And he was shaking at the very last push-up, and he fell at number 20. And when he got up, his knuckles were bleeding. He was bleeding. Wow. And he only did 20. And I just smiled and I said, okay, my turn. And I went down there and like a machine gun, I did, 19, 20. And then I did one more in slow motion, 21. And I got up and smiling and I said, 21. And so he just shook and took off. He was shaking and so angry, but he had to honor, the bet that we made. I was going to fight him if he could beat me in push-ups. He couldn't beat me. So I fought him. And I defeated him without ever throwing a punch. And you know what, Pedro? A couple of years later, I saw for the first time Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. And I said, that's what I did. He did exactly in the movie what I did with this guy. Right. Defeating his opponent without ever fighting him.
It's the art of fighting without fighting.
Exactly. And so that was I learned so many lessons just from experiencing them with other people there in college. But let me talk to you about the 4 Sax Virtuosos because I'm so excited. It's book number 17. I've never, ever marketed a book to try and make it a bestseller before. And, well, it's my fault because I haven't spent all the time marketing the book. But here's the reason I started to do this for this one. Is because you know what they say, the 17th time is the charm, right? Yeah. The 17th time, or is it the third time? Well, you know what I mean.
I'll tell you something about number 17 after.
But my wife told me, my wife Maria Elena, she's she keeps me on the straight and narrow, and she really helps guide what I do. And she told me, you know what, you should donate the earnings from this book to a good cause because that's who you are. And I've always helped people. I remember a couple of years ago, my good friend Freddie Peralta came up to me from McAllen in Texas, and he says, "Hey, Dr. Hinojosa, let's help out some of these homeless people that are here in town." And I said, "Sure, Freddie. What do you want to do?" He says, "How about if you play him a free concert?" And I'll buy him food. And so he got together 20 homeless individuals from McAllen, brought them to his place of business, set up some tables and some chairs, bought them all a meal, and I played music for them. And they had a 2-hour concert, and it was wonderful. They loved it because they felt special. They were being fed, and they were being entertained, and it was live music there for them. And I did that a couple of years ago, and I've told Freddie, we need to do this again, Freddie. The pandemic has of course delayed some of these things from happening, but we're going to do it again. And I've always donated. I go to nursing homes, Pedro. Nursing homes, and I play music for them when they're having their
That's
lunch
awesome.
at the nursing home. I'll play music for free. I'm not going to charge any of them. I just go in my spare time and bring them some happiness. And these people, a lot of times they don't have anybody who goes to visit them. They're there by themselves. And so to have a nice concert with some music that is enjoyable, it's really nice. So then when my wife says, do donate this money to a cause. And I thought, well, what should we do? And we thought St. Jude, let's help in the fight against childhood cancer. Said, so everything that's going to be, proceeds from this book is going to go to St. Jude. And so hopefully, with that in mind, we can have a lot of people excited about helping, children in need, and maybe make this book a bestseller. I really hope that happens.
Well, that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, because I saw you promoting it, and I think it's a good cause. Do you have something with the number 4? Because there was another book that is the 4 Master, right?
That's right, the 4 Grand Masters. So and I'll tell you how this happens, Pedro. In 2016, 5 years ago, I was a chief of staff at a hospital at that time, and I attended a medical conference in California. So it was a medical conference for leaders, and so chiefs of staff were invited, and CEOs of hospitals, hospital administrators were invited. And so there were about 100 attendees at this conference. And so what they did there, one of the exercises that was done there at that conference was, we're going to divide everybody up into 4 groups. And so there was about 100 of us. There was about 25 per group. And these are all leaders. It's a leadership conference, but also a medical conference. And so in every group was supposed to select a leader for their group, and a problem was given to each group, and then the group was going to come up with solutions to this problem and then present them to the rest of the attendees. And so I don't know how it happened, but on the first few encounters, the first few words that everybody said, okay, how do we do this? Somebody looked at me and said, I nominate you to be the leader for this group. And somebody else jumped up quickly. I second that. And all of a sudden, I was made the leader of this group. So that was like a great honor for me. And so we came up with our plan, and I wrote down my notes. And then the 4 leaders went up there in front of the congregation, and they each gave their solutions to the problem. I was the last person to speak. So, of course, I came up with a phrase, saving the best for last, and everybody laughed and everybody's clapping. And long story short, we came up with solutions to the problem based on 4 different leadership personality types. And so the 4 Grand Masters and the 4 Sax Virtuosos has to do with that type of leadership, the personality traits, the attributes of specific leaders, and how they interact and solve problems. And so in the 4 Grand Masters, I use those attributes to solve some martial arts situations. On the 4 Sax Virtuosos, I go into deeper detail and how to solve some musical challenges, but also some leadership challenges. So yes, it's that's why I use the number 4. Because
that's amazing. That's amazing. I was wondering where it came from, and you explained it so well. And the number 17 is very, what can I say? The first time I set the world record for push-up was 17 push-up. And every time that I tell people that it was 17 push-up, what do you mean? I could do 17 push-up, because they don't know the way that I did the push-up.
Right.
First, at that time, it was 1988. At that time, I was the only one in the world that could do that push-up. So even if I did one, it would have been a world record. Wow. So at 17, so I said, never stop at 17. You got to go more than that. So, but that means a lot to me, that number 17, because
Oh, good, good.
that was the first time that I did it, and I think it was on a 17 days too. So it
Wow.
was very strange.
Hey, well, my wife was born October 17, so that's
Oh,
also important. There you go. Yeah.
uh, I'm not allowed to say when my wife was born, but it's somewhere around
Well,
there.
not the year, but you can say the month. Yeah.
The month, yeah, is that month. I just can't tell you the day because she doesn't want nobody to know, but I know.
Okay. Okay.
So, so you wrote 17 books, and then you did some acting as well.
Yes, yes. So the acting bug I got when my kids were little in elementary school, and
Mm-hmm.
they, you know, how they have plays in school, and
Mm-hmm.
one of my daughters was Cinderella, and they were doing some of these little activities, theatrical activities at school, and they let me know that they were kind of interested in acting. So I thought, well, if they're gonna pursue acting, then I might as well learn a little bit about it myself, and so I can help them out.
Mm-hmm.
So as a doctor, I would even after clinic, I would take some classes at the local university for
Mm-hmm.
theater and acting, and started taking some acting to learn the lingo and learn all that has to do with acting. And it's funny because then my kids, soon after that, they lost interest in it, and I kept going, and I started acting in productions. And one of the pictures you posted for the announcing
Into
the
the
Tweed
woods.
Talks for tonight was it's
Into the
called
woods,
yeah,
right?
Into the woods, and
Yeah.
I was narrator and also the mysterious man. So
Oh, okay.
that was it was a big production, but it was a musical. I had to sing.
Wow.
You know, it was a very very good production. Into the Woods is a very nice play. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. So that's how
Whoa.
I got into acting, and eventually I worked on some films. Live theater is quite challenging because you don't get to do you know do-overs. It's live, and you
Mm-hmm.
do it live, and you go from there.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with that because my wife, she becomes another person when she's rehearsing for a play, and I keep thinking that she's talking to me, but she's just talking as a character, goes around reciting everything
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
that she becomes another person.
Yes. It's
So,
funny on talking about acting in theater. We had a guest director from Chicago once
mhm,
at the University of Texas in Edinburgh, Texas. It's called UTRGV right now, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley,
mhm,
and it was a production called. It was a world premiere. It was called "Let the Eagle Fly," and it's the
mhm,
story of um, Cesar Chavez and the migrant workers. Okay,
mhm.
and I played Cesar Chavez's father in
Oh,
that play. But we had some really good actors, and that was also a musical. And I had to sing and I had to dance. But at one point, Cesar Chavez is singing to his father, and as his father on stage, I had already passed on, and so he was singing to his father, you know, up in heaven, and so
mhm,
he's got the spotlight on him, Cesar Chavez, the actor,
mhm,
and then the director, the night before we opened, he comes up to me and says, you know, Jay-El, because that was my acting name, Jay-El, and
mhm,
so that way I wouldn't get confused. If people call me Jose Luis, that would be
uh-huh,
me as a regular person. But if they
mhm,
say Jay-El, that was my acting name, my
mhm,
theatrical name. And so he says, Jay-El, uh, when Cesar Chavez sings to his father, uh, how about if you do a little dance routine to go with the music? Um,
mhm,
and the opening, we had practice for 6 weeks, and the
mhm.
opening was the next day. And so we hadn't rehearsed anything. All
Wow.
6 weeks, Cesar Chavez was singing to his father alone on stage. And now all of a sudden, I had to come on stage and start dancing to this music. And so on my drive home, Pedro, and this is where the martial arts
Mhm.
comes in. On my
Right.
drive home, I played the CD that had the music, and his song going. And I thought about my routine. And when I got home, I called the director and I said, I got it. I have a good routine. You're going to love it. So opening night came the next night, and the director was, I guess he was confident in us. He says, okay, go for it. Do the dance routine. And he had never seen me do it. And it was me as a migrant worker with a different, utensils used for migrant working and out in the field, and he's singing about his father, and there I am moving, and it was almost like a Tai Chi movement, like a slow motion kata for the martial arts, and it was so beautiful. It was so perfect that you could hear a pin drop on stage, because it was just the solo performance by the singer and the solo performance by the dancer.
Wow.
At this point, Pedro, there were people, because the audience was right there. The stage was such that the audience was only a few feet from you. I literally could hear people weeping during that song.
That's awesome when that happened.
It was incredible. So that's how martial arts was able to kind of intertwine with theatrical productions and live performances. Movement, knowing music, knowing rhythm, knowing where to, because music is very dynamic. It can go up, it can go down. It should take you through a journey. And hopefully this book, The Four Sax Virtuosos, takes the person through a journey also that goes up and it goes down, and it gives you different emotions, different feelings, different sentiments. I talk about, remember you talked about how a song can take you back to a memory. So the book does talk about this as well. And my very first world title that I won in martial arts, Pedro, was in 2003 in Mexico, in Cancun, Mexico. There were 14 countries involved, so it wasn't like a really big competition, but it was still 14 countries is still, a good number. And I remember that when I won my first world title that evening, because I think it was a 3-day event, that evening that I won my title, the hit song of the day was Celia Cruz and La Vida es un Carnaval. And so the DJ kept playing that song over and over again. And so what happens today when I hear that song? I go back to my very first world championship, and I relive that, because it's like if I'm reliving everything. So music has that power of taking you somewhere else, transporting you. And you know what else has that power, Pedro? A good book. A book can take you somewhere else. Yes,
my wife,
Yes. So that Celia Cruz song was so incredible. It just always takes me to my first world title.
Yes. I knew we hit it off when we met. We were there with the Game Master. But I didn't know that you did the music because I was sitting with Grandmaster Eric Lee. And I was sitting, I don't know if you noticed, I was sitting by the piano, tinkling on the piano.
Yes.
And he was singing, I think it was an Elvis song that he likes to sing.
Unchained Melody?
Yes. I think that's the one he was. Yeah, and I was trying to find his key. But next time I see him, I think I'll bring my guitar or something.
Yeah.
Did you bring your sax?
Not today, Pedro. And the reason is because my equipment here, my technical equipment is not very good, and it's not going to work. But next time we should do another Tweed Talks, and have better microphone, better video, and I'll do some songs for you. We'll do a mini concert or something.
I'm going to hold you to that, because
and
we have something called,
You know why I'm saying that, Pedro, is because Eric Lee, he's also a very good friend of mine, and Eric had like a mini talent show on one of these formats, like I think it was Zoom a month or two ago, and he invited me to play my saxophone, and I played it, but I could tell that it was cutting off, and the audio was cutting off, and I would hate for that to be happening right now, because I do have some work that needs to be done on my end for microphone
Oh,
and
okay.
audio and visual. But we'll do it next time, okay?
Yeah, we have a thing that we call Music Monday,
Okay.
where we bring musicians. And I think I've been thinking about Jesus Santiago, Sifu Jesus Santiago, and because he's always singing. So, just for fun.
Yes, definitely. That'd be something
How's
to look forward to.
how's your wonderful wife?
She's doing good. She's in the other room.
Yeah.
Looking at this live, I didn't know if she was here, if it would interfere with her looking at the show and her device and then messing up this. So she's in the other room looking at this.
Because that's also another show that we do is with couples, power couple. We had that last week. We had Orlando Rivera, and we had some actors, friend of ours, Kevin. So I see my granddaughter is saying.
She's in Tang Sudo, and she also plays the clarinet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she just started.
Well,
I don't work with her yet, but eventually I will.
Tell her to not be shy, because the band director, when I started clarinet, found out then that I started also playing the saxophone, and he was so upset. He says, "Oh, it's gonna ruin your embouchure for clarinet." And anyway, so they're very particular about playing one instrument and learning it well, and I can see that. Yeah.
Well, listen, it's great talking to you. Mention your book one more time. And tomorrow is the day that is dropping, right?
Yes. Tomorrow it'll be available. The link is available now, but I want us to wait until tomorrow as the official launch date. It's called The Four Sax Virtuosos, and it's going to go on sale tomorrow. It'll go for a special discounted price. I think it's less than $7.
Wow.
After next week, it'll probably go up to the regular retail price, which is something like $15. So it's better to get it tomorrow.
And is it on Kindle also?
I'm sorry?
Is it on Kindle?
Yes, it's available on both formats: ebook, Kindle, and then soft cover. Yes.
Okay, I make sure I get one tomorrow, and then I want the physical copy also, because I know that eventually I'm going to see you again.
Oh yes.
It was so great to have met you in Las Vegas. It was awesome, the conversation. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I know that we hit it off, and your wife, and we were talking for hours, and I knew that we've become friends since that conversation.
We were talking about your book, your first book that you had written, and how how you were inspiring a lot of people with your quotes, positive quotes, and you're just like me. I also like to inspire people. So that's how we hit it off, Pedro. I remember.
I think that was it. Because I read part of I just ordered one of your books on Kindle.
Oh.
So good. I started reading it. So, and you're talking about the ABCs. So you went A through Z.
Backwards.
Yes.
Oh, that's the language of winners. Yes.
The language, exactly. So I love that.
Because every language has to have an alphabet, and so that's the alphabet.
Right. Good. That was awesome.
Good, Pedro. Well, thank you for having me. Amanda, Pedro, both of you. Crystal, hope you feel better, Crystal.
She's someplace in the other room. But thank you so much. I told her I was having a doctor coming in. Maybe she could feel better.
Yes. So remind all your friends and family members and friends to try and get a copy of the Sax Virtuosos tomorrow. Okay, Pedro?
Right. And we will do that. We'll put the link at the end of this video, and we'll do it tomorrow again. I'm probably going to play this again tomorrow because you could record it and play it again. It will come out as live, so you could tell your friends to watch it up again.
Okay, good. And just everybody remember that we're also helping, the kids, the children who need help. So this is a really good cause, and hopefully
it is.
We can get this done. Thank you,
Well,
everybody. God bless
Thank
you.
thank you. Pleasure
Have
to
a
Thank
have
good
you
you.
night.
on. Bye bye.
Bye.
He's an awesome guy. Um, when I met him, it was just like instant. You know, we just started talking, me and his wife. Well, people, that was the short and long of it. And you met my daughter, and my granddaughter is someplace back there. She she's going like
Hiding in the
this.
shadows.
I don't know what that means, you know. We didn't have that when we were kids. And I think we're doing Motivation Monday next week. So make sure you tune in for that. And I think I'm going to play this video tomorrow again because I think it's important, especially
Yeah.
I love that organization, San Jude. And we want to thank Dr. Jose Luis Hinojosa. And he does so many things we couldn't cover on
Yeah,
all.
he's a really cool
I
person.
mean, music, books, acting, martial art, and so on. So with that, we're going to say bye-bye, love, peace, and harmony, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us.